So it's time for an oil change. The Corvette needs one, and so does the Hummer. So we're working on the Hummer right now. I pulled the skid plate out from under it, and as you can see, it is a nasty mess under there. So something's leaking in there. My guess is that it's oil. So yeah, that's definitely oil. And then, but that's not the only issue, because underneath of this plate right here, there's something dripping off that too, and that is not oil. That is transmission fluid. I'm thinking that when I install the radiator, I'm still having a problem with those lines leaking that are going to the transmission cooler that's inside the radiator. So I'm gonna have to pull this skid plate off here, which is just these two screws there, and take a look and see what's going on, why it's leaking. While I'm doing that, I'm gonna pull that bolt right there and drain all the oil out of this thing. Oh, that splashed. I felt a little bit hit me in the face and on my arm. So this is a skid plate out front of the car, Hummer, and you can see over here, it's definitely leaking transmission fluid. So look up underneath there, you can see the bottom of the radiator, it's leaking pretty bad. So back here, it's leaking from that connection right there. So you can get to it from this side. It's that fitting that's leaking right there. So I have to either loosen or tighten it, because it has an O-ring in there, and if you crush the O-ring, it starts leaking like crazy. I learned that when I replaced the radiator. So right now, I'm gonna loosen it up and see how tight it is, and maybe try to back it off to where the O-ring's not seated anymore, and then try to reseat it. Hopefully that fixed the leak. I don't know, I don't really have much options because there's no torque spec for it or anything. It didn't even say there was no instructions, didn't even say to put those in, so I'm gonna have to just give it a shot and see what happens, I guess. But once I get it all done up and I've got oil back in the car, then I can start it up and I can tweak that fitting until it stops leaking transmission fluid, and then hopefully that'll be good enough to keep it from leaking in the future. The other side's not leaking, and that's what I did with it. This one, it may still be too tight, I don't know, but I'm gonna try and fix it right now. All right, so got a new oil filter. So got a new oil filter up in there, bolts back in. I'm also gonna clean up the bottom of this radiator just to see if I fix the problem with the transmission fluid leaking out of it. I don't know that I did. It looked to me like that seal was really crushed in there and it was poking out. I threw a piece of hemp string over it to try and pull the seal down in as I was tightening the bolt. I think that may have worked, because it doesn't look like anything's poking out of it now, but the only way I'm going to be able to find out is to just clean this up as good as I can, and I'm going to run it without the pans for a little bit, so that I can take a look underneath it anytime I need to and see if it's leaking. Another thing, every time I change the oil on this thing, the drain is right above this cross member, so it just soaks this cross member in oil every single time I change the oil. But so I'm gonna start it up and see if it leaks, but not before we put oil back in it. Now this right here is my favorite funnel. Don't ask me why. I just like it. Let's get it all the way to the top. Drink up, girl. Got her fired up. Make sure oil's not pouring out from underneath. Let's see if that's leaking. Doesn't look like it, but I don't think there's anything running through the transcooler right now. Let me go run it through the gears and see if it starts leaking. How do we do? Looking good, looking good. All right, gotta run for a few days anyway. Something's dripping underneath the car. way back here. Is that water? Where is that coming from? Oh, that exhaust coupling right there. Well, at least it's water. I thought it was coming out of here. Transfer case, transmission, that would have been bad. Oh. All right. Everything's looking all good, and that's one oil change down. Easy work. All right, so I just got home from work. I've been driving the car, well, driving the Hummer around for the last few days. And let's get underneath there and check things out. The gravel. Oh. So it looks like we don't have anything. Nothing on it all the way down. It's completely clean. So I must have been able to get that seal in there pretty good because it ain't leaking no more. It is leaking somewhere on the motor. Somewhere up there. I'm gonna have to figure out where that's coming from. But the good news is the transmission's not leaking anymore, so I'm probably gonna top that off and call it good. Wash the skid plates off and put them back on the car. So I got this pressure washer recently. So we're gonna use it to wash off the skid plates, get them back under the car. I'm probably gonna wash the H3. I should be able to wash it and dry it before the sun fully goes down, but we'll see. So there we go. Pressure washer did a pretty good job cleaning these up. It's like almost brand new aluminum. Shiny and nice. And then this was caked in grease and all kinds of stuff on this. But it cleaned up pretty well too. I forgot to get the back side of this, but that's okay. It's not going to be that big a deal. So I'm going to get these installed, put back on the Hummer H3, and eventually I'm going to have to find that oil leak, but for now I'm just going to keep checking the oil. Well, I was going to pull the Corvette out of here and pull the Hummer in so that I could put the skid plates back underneath it, but the Corvette's dead. Didn't drive it for a while, and now she's mad. She doesn't want to start for me, so we got the trickle charger on the old Duralast Gold, and when that's ready to fire back up, we'll move it out. But in the meantime, I'm going to button up a couple things that I should have done a while ago. I've got the reverse light harness for the Tide car, the TK0600. So I'm going to get underneath there and I'm going to wire that in. And then also there's the neutral safety switch. Now the neutral safety switch, I don't know if I had mentioned this, but it's this button right down there. You can see it. Every time I want to go turn the car, every time I want to start the car, I have to push that button in and it completes the connection and then I can start it. Now, I have to wire that up to the neutral safety switch in the transmission. It's actually this harness that's sticking off the side here, right on top. But I don't have, I'm gonna reach in here. I don't have the connector that goes to this. Now I figure this is a fairly standard connector, and I was gonna try and buy it from somewhere. So I tried looking up that connector, and I can't find it anywhere. I mean, it looks like a really standard GM connector that I could go to any, like, parts warehouse or like a junkyard and just get one, but for some reason I can't find it anywhere online. There's only one place that has it, and it's like a company that does like engine swaps, transmission swaps and stuff like that, and they had one. So, and then that will fix the neutral safety switch problem. So, but for now I can just push that button down there, that big ugly plastic button, and start the car that way. So I'm not really worried about that right now. Once I get a shift boot on it though, I'm gonna have to have the neutral safety switch hooked up. So let's get started on the reverse light. So the way I figure, I've got this red wire that comes off of the harness over here, and I figure I can come from that switch up through this grommet, because all we need to power the reverse lights is just 12 volts to this wire. So I gotta be careful with this because that's live 12 volts right there. Can't touch anything with it right now. Pull this off of here. Alright, so I think the way I'm going to run the reverse light is I've always got 12 volts off the back of the alternator right here. So I'm going to run a line from here with a fuse up along with the rest of these wires. It'll go straight down there to, you can barely see it way down there. It's on this side of the transmission. And then the line will go into the connector for that, and then from the connector, probably go over the transmission, and then down the battery cable along to the back of the car to this red lead over here. So it'll come along the battery cable, come out of that grommeted hole right there, and then along here, and over to this wire right here. And then that should be simple enough. It'll be a fuse connection, and then when the car is completely off, but there's still power to that line, I could, if I needed light behind the car, I could just throw it in reverse and just leave those lights on. They're not gonna drain this enormous, like, commercial battery, which even though it's heavy, it's cool that I have all that reserve juice on hand at any one time. So I'm gonna knock that out real quick and then get on to the next thing. Okay, so I think I've got it all wired up. Got myself filthy in the process for being underneath the car with all the kitty litter under there from the leaking axles. But got it hooked up here on the back of the alternator, runs up this white wire, and that goes down along that way down to the transmission. It is on the switch on the transmission, goes up over the transmission, then runs along the positive battery cable all the way back, which is just zip tied every couple feet, every foot or so. And that comes all the way back to here, comes out the firewall, and is just zip tied in about 900 different places over to this wire right here, back to the backup lights. So I'm gonna go over and I've got the battery hooked back up. I of course had the battery disconnected while I was doing all that work, especially the stuff with the alternator, taking those wires off. It's a lot of, it's a lot of always live stuff. And this car has no fuses in it. The only fuses that this car has in the electrical system are fuses that I put there, which I find just completely baffling. So I had taken a couple tires off to get a little better access. I'm gonna put the wheels back on, put it back on the ground, and then I'm gonna test it out. All right, so it's back on the ground. Let's throw it in reverse and see if it actually works. Okay. Oh, might have to get in it to put it in reverse. There it is. Okay. Oh, hell yeah. Nice. Cool. Gosh, that's bright. At least everybody will absolutely know that I'm backing up. Looks good. All right. Pull it out of reverse. Put it in third. Nice. All right, cool. So that was pretty much the last thing on the Tico 600 install. The reverse light, neutral safety switch isn't absolutely necessary, but we're gonna do that eventually once I get the boot done. But that can come in the future. So this is completely done. It's time for a new list. Let's go see how the Corvette's doing. Well, hey, little dude. Whew. He's been eating. Oh, that's not good. All right, well, let's see if it's got enough charge on it that it'll start. We'll see. Oh. All right, you got this, baby. I believe in you. It may not hold a charge anymore, though. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Man, I should pressure wash the car, too. Engine bay and all that. It's kind of nasty. I'm pretty sure it's going to need a new battery. I can't remember when I got this one, but it was several years ago. So it probably does need a new battery. God, I love this car. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and move it out, and then we'll get the Hummer in here, put the skid plates back on the Hummer, and then the Hummer should be in good shape for a while. So I got the Corvette moved out of the garage. I went to start the Hummer. And I did this. And that little flashing thing right there is the whole problem. It does this on occasion. It'll do that and it won't start because it's a security system, anti-theft system, and then I have to wait 10 minutes solid before I can try to start it again. Usually it starts up after the 10 minutes, so we'll just kill some time, sweep out the garage or something. Alright, let's take another crack at this. Alright, so now that light right there is solid now. So it should start. There it is. I have to try and see if I can disable that somehow. Maybe in the system in the computer or something. I have the HP tuners to do it. I just haven't hooked it up yet. Maybe I can do it with that. Maybe I can't. I don't know. But it gets pretty annoying, especially when you gotta be somewhere and the car won't start and it's just, you know, for no reason really, and it's like 10 minutes, extra 10 minutes. Like it really throw a wrench in your day sometimes, especially when you gotta be at work. There it is, done. Hopefully I want to take those off for a while. Dripped a little bit of oil under even just while I was working on it, so I'm gonna have to probably figure out what that oil leak is pretty soon. But for now, I'm actually running out of 5W30, so I have to go up to the store and get some. Yesterday, when I was getting in the trunk to wire up the reverse lights, I looked down in here when I was opening the trunk and I found that right there. And I was wondering, how did that get there? I thought to myself that maybe I had set it there because I had pulled it out of something, but it definitely looked like a hex head screw from somewhere on the car. Well, just now, the next day, I was walking around the car, and I thought, it looks awful familiar. Looks like these. So I started looking at all these tabs, and there's a hole here, but that didn't have a screw in it. And then I got to right here. And this was in there, and somehow came loose, and the tab and the screw flew up and over the car, and the screw landed there and didn't move, and the tab is gone. So, I mean, it's just a little bent piece of, looks like aluminum. So, you know, no big deal. I can make up another one of those probably, but still, kind of weird. Parts flying off the car, not a good thing. Maybe I'll have to put some lock washers on those, or Loctite them or something. At least I have the screw, though. Although I probably could have gotten another one of these too, but maybe not, I don't know. Speaking of screws, really quickly, I was looking around, and all over the car I kept seeing these bolts, and it seems like every bolt on the car has this symbol on it, right? And I went and I asked somebody, what is that? Like, what company, what brand makes those fasteners? And for months and months and months, I was trying to figure out what it was. I was like, looking online, looking at fastener manufacturers. And then a little while ago, I was pacing around the car and looking at the car. And then I looked down and I saw this sticker right here. And that sticker has that symbol right there. And it turns out they're Bowman fasteners. And I thought that was pretty cool. And I can't believe it took me that long to notice that that symbol is the same one that's on just about every single fastener on this entire car. So I thought that was pretty cool. Thought I'd share it with you guys. So it's the next day. Next up is the Corvette. We're gonna do the oil on that. And this thing's a pain to jack up. I really wish I had a lift. A lift would make 90% of the things I do with the cars like 100% easier. But we're gonna have to jack it up from here, and then put some wood under the wheels, and then jack it up from there, and then put some wood under the wheels, and then jack it up from the back because it has to be tilted forward because the drain plug is on the front of the pan instead of the back. It's just, change the oil on this thing is a mess if you don't have a lift. If I had a lift, it'd be super duper easy. But anyway, we're gonna get started on that right now. I'm sure that'll do. This car is exhausting to get up into the air. But I got it nice and high. Way off the ground. And that should give me plenty of up and down forward angle to get the oil drained out of this thing. It's got a nice rake on it. Still makes me nervous to get under there. But with those jack stands under there, the car shouldn't be going anywhere. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Our car is completely drained. The new filter's back in it, and the new, no, it's not a new drain plug. Drain plug's back in it too. I probably waited a little too long to change this. It was pretty nasty stuff. So I'll have to change it a little bit earlier next time. But now we just gotta fill it back up. 6 quarts or 7 quarts? I can't remember how much. I'll look it up real quick. But time to fill it up. Looked it up, and apparently there's a giant discussion on whether it's 6.5 quarts or 7 quarts. I'm gonna put 7 quarts in it. That's what I thought I remembered it being. We're big old Trusty here. Oh my gosh, it doesn't even go down in there. Can I use big old Trusty? There we go. Yeah, good enough. Look at that. I love that thing. I don't know why, but it's my favorite funnel. All right, so 7 quarts. So she's gonna drink up. I've already got 2 quarts in there, so I'm gonna finish up with the rest of this 5, and that should be 7 total. So that's gonna be it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I know it was a lot of just maintenance stuff, not a whole lot of action. So I'm gonna leave you guys with some flybys of the car. Got some footage of the Tide car just doing some drive-bys. Coming up, just had this come in the other day, is a wideband for the Tide car, and maybe on the Corvette a little bit later if I do a cam, long tube headers, stuff like that. Those are kind of future plans for the Corvette over there. For now, I have this, which is an analog sweep wideband air fuel with the Bosch sensor in it. This is gonna go in the Tide car so that I can tune the carburetor and get this thing running as best I can. Also, coming up, the rear axle is going to be that's something that's gotta be done soon, because the one wheel peel thing is gonna drive me crazy, and the axle grease leaking everywhere is not good. So that's gonna be coming up very soon. I also got a draggy. So we're gonna be baselining all 3 of the cars on the street to see what kind of times they run. Cool thing about this, it's got the magnetic back on it, so it just, in the Tide car, just sticks right there. I don't need to put a mounting plate or anything right there. So that's gonna be really cool. I can't wait to use that. And then I also have, this is the neutral safety switch for the Tide car. I actually found one. This is actually the pigtail from an 86 to 93 or 94, whatever the Mustangs were. It's Fox body Mustang, T5 transmission, Ford part. So if you guys ever need to find one of these, that's what it is. It's the pigtail from a Ford T5 in the T5 Mustang, the T5 Mustang harness. And that's what plugs into the TKO 600. I think they're all like that, whether it's Ford or Chevy. I think they're all the same. And then another thing that just came in today, literally today, is brakes for the Hummer. And these are going to be going on the Hummer really soon. Wow, that's heavy. So these are cross-drilled slotted rotors from Callahan for the Hummer. They're heavy and they're really nice and they look cool. They got flat vanes on them. I remember when I had my RX-7 a long time ago, I had put flat, plain, cross-drilled slotted rotors on my RX-7, and it didn't cool as well because the vanes were straight up and down instead of angled. And if you have vanes that are angled inside, that they go around like that, they move air through much better. But these are flat vanes. I knew they were going to be, but I think the vanes in the Hummer are flat vanes on the rotors in the front anyway. Brakes in the Hummer are starting to grind, so that's going to be a big project here coming up too. It's been a while since the last video. I'm starting to get adjusted to the way things are now. I've been extremely busy. I'm still going to keep making videos, and I'm not going to quit. I want to thank you guys so much for watching and still sticking around even though the videos are coming out slow. I'm going to be working more and more on them in the future. And I just want to let you guys know that I appreciate you. So the channel now is at 730 subscribers, somewhere around there. We're about 3/4 of the way to monetization with the watch hours and the subscribers. So that's awesome. Ratcheting on up. Hopefully it keeps getting better and better in the future. So as always, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the videos, please subscribe, and I'll see you next time.